What if the universe isn't silent, but you've just been taught to ignore the sound? What if every heartbreak, every repeated pattern, every strange gut feeling you couldn't explain was never random, but sacred? There's a language that doesn't speak with words. It speaks with moments, with energy, with patterns that repeat until you finally pay attention. This isn't just about breakups or soulmates. It's about something deeper, about learning how to read the signs that your soul already understands. And sometimes, those signs come wrapped in the disguise of love. But not all love is meant to stay. So, if you've been feeling like something's off, even if everything looks fine on the outside, keep listening. Because the truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just nudges you. Again, and sign 1. The love that feels too heavy. Some connections feel cosmic, fated, written in the stars. They arrive like thunder, intense, magnetic, undeniable. But over time, that pull starts to feel more like gravity, weighty, exhausting, almost suffocating. And here's where most people get stuck, confusing soul recognition with soul alignment. The universe doesn't just bring people together for comfort, it brings them together for transformation. And sometimes that transformation means realizing this love is not aligned with your path. The soft signs begin to appear. A strange restlessness, joy that comes with guilt, small misalignments that feel disproportionately painful. These aren't accidents, they're echoes from within. According to Jung, when two people meet, it's not just two bodies or even two hearts, it's two psyches in flux. Each one carries layers of shadow, projection, and unconscious need. And when the love starts to mirror more of your inner fragmentation than your wholeness, the universe begins to stir. Whispers grow louder, the same arguments, the same miscommunications, the same ache that refuses to heal. But don't panic. This isn't failure. It's the beginning of truth. And truth is the path to liberation. To fawn, I choose the love that sets me free. Type that in the comments if you're ready to listen, not just to this video, but to yourself. Sign 2. The disappearing magic of projection. At first, it felt perfect, like you finally found the person who gets you, without explanation. You didn't just meet them, you recognized them. But here's the truth. Most of that recognition wasn't about them. It was about you. Specifically, the parts of you that you hadn't yet met in yourself. Carl Jung called this projection, a powerful psychic phenomenon, where we unconsciously assign our inner needs, wounds, and desires onto another person. In the beginning, it feels euphoric. You think they complete you. You swear the universe finally delivered your missing half. But what you're actually seeing is your reflection. A version of what you long for. A symbol of what still feels out of reach inside you. And then, something shifts. The magic starts to fade. Their flaws become more visible. Their actions don't match the story you've been telling yourself. It's not that they changed, it's that the projection is dissolving, and what remains is the reality you were avoiding. This is where the universe gets louder. You may feel sudden disillusionment, subtle frustration, or emotional distance where once there was fire. You wonder what changed when, in fact, you are changing, growing, awakening. And that awakening reveals a simple truth. You never needed them to complete you. You needed to see where you weren't yet whole. These dissolving projections aren't proof the love was fake. They're invitations to heal, to turn inward instead of chasing healing in someone else's arms. Because only when you withdraw the projection can you start seeing the other person clearly. And more importantly, start seeing yourself. And if clarity is rising in you, trust it. You're not going crazy. You're waking up. Sign 3. When the relationship reflects the parts you've buried. There's a moment in every intense connection when things start to feel unsettling. Not because the love is fading, but because the mirror is turning. You stop seeing what you wanted to see, and start seeing what you've tried to avoid. According to Jung, the shadow is everything we repress. Our fears, wounds, insecurities, anger, shame, and unspoken needs. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We are often magnetically pulled toward people who carry our shadow for us. They act out what we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. That person who always made you feel invisible? That endless loop of jealousy or mistrust? Those weren't just relationship problems. They were projections of your unhealed self, screaming for integration. The universe doesn't bring these people to punish us. It brings them to show us where we're still split within. Every repeated argument, every emotional trigger, every gut-wrenching silence, it's all part of a sacred dialogue between your soul and your unconscious. When we don't listen, the patterns repeat. We call it bad luck or toxic people. But really, it's the shadow saying, "You still haven't met me, so I'll meet you again in someone else." The path to freedom is never found in trying to fix them. It's found in facing what they activate inside of you. Ask yourself, what do I keep attracting? What do I keep avoiding in myself? Because behind every painful reflection is a door. And behind the door is a part of you still waiting to be loved. When love turns into a battlefield of the unconscious, the universe isn't punishing you. It's waking you up to the truth. You cannot be whole by clinging to someone who only reflects your fragmentation. Sign 4. Repetitive conflict is a cry for inner attention. Some people don't just break your heart. They repeat a pattern that feels eerily familiar. Different face, different voice, same feeling. You think, why does this keep happening to me? But what if it's not happening to you? What if it's speaking to you? In Jungian psychology, when a relationship repeats emotional cycles, constant jealousy, abandonment fears, power struggles, or feeling unseen, it often signals unprocessed parts of the psyche attempting to surface. These aren't just behavior issues, they're soul-level messages. The pain keeps returning because the wound has not yet been seen. The relationship becomes like a stage, a psychic laboratory. You play your part, they play theirs, and the universe directs the scenes, until you finally realize this isn't about them. It's about what inside you keeps choosing the same script. You might notice déjà vu-like moments, different partners, but the same arguments, same betrayals, same confusion. It's not coincidence. It's synchronicity. The universe is mirroring your inner drama through outer events until you say, "Enough. I'm ready to see this clearly." Ask yourself, why do I keep ending up in relationships where I feel unworthy, anxious, or over-responsible for their happiness? What old story am I unconsciously reliving? Until you name it, it keeps writing your love story for you. These repeating relationships are not curses. They are calls. And healing begins when you stop trying to win someone over and start listening to the pain beneath the pattern. Sign 5. The discomfort that won't leave, even in good moments. There comes a point in a misaligned relationship when everything looks fine but feels wrong. You laugh together, make plans, say "I love you," and yet something inside you tightens instead of opens. That, right there, is the signal. Not a scream, but a quiet, constant tension that doesn't go away. Carl Jung said that when we deny the truth of the soul, it starts to speak through discomfort, subtle anxiety, unexplainable sadness, or even physical unease. It's not always about what the other person is doing. It's about what you're no longer able to ignore. Maybe you dread seeing them but can't explain why. Maybe your body feels tired after every interaction. Maybe you cry for no reason, even on good days. These aren't mood swings. These are soul signals. And the longer you dismiss them, the louder they get. Sometimes they show up in dreams, sometimes through fatigue, sometimes through a quiet ache in your chest that whispers, "This isn't it." The rational mind will fight it. It'll say, "But we have history. They're not doing anything wrong. I should be happy." But your soul is not here for what makes sense. It's here for what feels aligned. The universe speaks through contrast. When love begins to feel like a cage instead of a sanctuary, even when no one's hurting you, that's not love fading. That's your spirit outgrowing the space you're in. Trust the unease. It's often the soul's final attempt to guide you before everything breaks. Sign 6. Synchronicities that signal it's time to let go. You try to hold things together. You plan dates, apologize, compromise. But the harder you try, the more life seems to unravel around the relationship. That's not just bad timing. That's the universe no longer cooperating with your resistance. Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that aren't random but deeply symbolic. You think about leaving, and a stranger says, sometimes walking away is healing. You make plans to fix things, and the power goes out, the car breaks down, or a crisis suddenly demands your attention. Every path forward feels blocked. Every gesture of repair feels strangely empty. These synchronicities are not accidents. They're subtle nudges from your unconscious mirrored by the outer world to move toward truth. They're the soul's way of saying, this chapter is closing. And often, these signs begin before we're ready to accept them. You might feel torn, still loving them, but also knowing that love alone isn't enough. And in that space of emotional limbo, the universe starts sending signals with increasing clarity. It's not being cruel. It's being honest, more honest than your rational mind wants to be. You might see repeating numbers, messages about release, or hear songs that sound like they were written just for your heartbreak. You might find yourself feeling more at peace away from them than when you're together. This is how the soul communicates, through feeling, through symbols, through repeated themes. And when the relationship starts disrupting your inner peace more than it enhances it, that's not a flaw. That's guidance. Let go of forcing. Let in the flow. Sign 7. Breakups that feel like breakthroughs. Sometimes the universe doesn't whisper, it rips the rug out from under you. Sudden distance, a betrayal, a final argument you can't come back from. You didn't plan for it, but deep down, you knew it was coming. This kind of separation often feels cruel, but through the lens of Jungian psychology, it's not punishment, it's transformation, a sacred rupture, a necessary split that shakes you out of the trance of projection and into the reality of your own becoming. You might feel like your soul is being torn in two. You might grieve not just the person but the version of yourself that only existed with them. And still, a quiet part of you feels lighter. Not happier, not instantly healed, just clearer. That's when you know it wasn't a breakup. It was a breakthrough. The universe had to step in, because your higher self made a vow you forgot. You will not abandon yourself again, for the comfort of a connection that cost your truth. And so, the world rearranges itself. The relationship ends, the silence begins. And in that silence, you hear yourself again. This is where individuation truly begins. Not when you find love, but when you let go of the one that asked you to shrink. It's not easy, but it's sacred, because some endings are actually initiations. The love that cracked you open may have fulfilled its purpose. Now the healing begins. And the most important relationship, your relationship with yourself, finally has room to grow. Sign 8. Emotional burnout that doesn't go away. There's a kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix, a heaviness that settles in your chest. You're still in the relationship, but you feel like a ghost in your own life. You've tried everything, talked through the same issues, made promises, forgiven, hoped, but instead of healing, the connection just keeps taking. This is emotional burnout, and when it lingers, it's no longer a relational problem. It's a soul signal. The energy you once gave with joy now feels like obligation. You show up, but not as your whole self. Just fragments, just masks, just enough to keep the peace. And that's the red flag most people miss. When you begin to betray yourself in order to stay close to someone else, that's not love, that's sacrifice. Jung said the psyche will do anything to become whole. And when a relationship stands in the way of that wholeness, the unconscious starts pulling back. You lose your spark, your curiosity, even moments of connection feel forced. You may feel guilty for wanting to leave, especially if the other person isn't bad. But alignment isn't about good versus bad. It's about resonance. And when that resonance fades, the universe doesn't wait. It begins to dismantle everything that no longer fits. The fatigue you feel isn't just emotional. It's spiritual. It's your soul saying you've learned the lesson. You're allowed to let go now. Sign 9. When choosing them feels like abandoning you. At first, you sacrificed small things, your opinions, your preferences, your rhythms. You told yourself it was love. That compromise is noble. But eventually, compromise turned into disappearance. You don't laugh like you used to. You don't dream like you used to. And worst of all, you've stopped hearing your own voice. This is the deepest sign the universe gives. When staying means disconnecting from who you really are. Not because the other person is cruel, but because the bond was built on what you were willing to give up, not what helped you grow. Jung taught that individuation is the path back to the center of the self. It means shedding masks, old roles, and false attachments. And sometimes, the person you love the most is also the one your soul must walk away from in order to be whole again. You may cling out of loyalty, out of history, out of hope that they'll change. But if loving them means losing you, then the universe will keep sending signs until you see that letting go isn't betrayal. It's a return to the self you've been silencing to make it work. The grief will come, but so will the clarity. And then, after the storms, comes the stillness. And in that stillness, you will remember who you are. Sign 10. The deep inner knowing that it's time to walk away. There comes a moment, quiet, undeniable, when something inside you simply says, "This is over." No drama, no blame, no need to convince or be convinced. Just a clear, internal knowing that staying would mean going against your truth. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with peace. The universe doesn't separate you from someone to hurt you. It separates you so you can hear yourself again. So you can begin the sacred process Jung called individuation, becoming whole, not through another, but through yourself. Not every love story was meant to last forever. Some were written to awaken you, to reflect your wounds, your dreams, your blind spots, to bring up everything you needed to see, so that you could finally meet the real you underneath the roles and the longing. And when that lesson is complete, the signs grow undeniable. The same arguments, the same ache, the same universe rearranging things, so you're no longer able to ignore what your soul already knows. That's not failure. That's evolution. And letting go when done consciously is not the end. It's a portal. The true home you've been searching for in another has always been inside you. And the love you deserve will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. So, if your soul is stirring, and you've felt the weight of these signs, say this out loud or type it below. Rinang. I choose the love that sets me free. Let this be your declaration, your return, not just to love, but to truth. If this message spoke to your spirit, subscribe for more content on conscious love, self-integration, and Jungian awakening. And don't stop here. Watch the next video appearing on your screen. It's the continuation of your healing. You're not losing them. You're finally choosing you.